So welcome to the panel discussion on striking the balance, healthcare innovation versus business opportunities. And I'm very honored to be your moderator today. Today's topic, right, it's a very interesting discussion because first of all, on one hand, you've got the pressure to rapidly innovate, to constantly innovate as the demands of the business requires, especially the field of healthcare and biotech. On the other hand, you've also got the concern of how do you maintain a sustainable business and to ensure that you are competitive in the very challenging landscape that we have today in the business of healthcare as well, right? So today's discussion, what we're going to do is to explore this balance, to look at how companies within the healthcare landscape are innovating, but at the same time ensuring that they have the balance between their business success as well. All right, so I have a really fantastic panel here with me today. And please allow me to introduce the panel one by one. On the far end over there, we've got Encik Muhammad Farahi Arif, who is the Managing Director of Arif Skyler Biotech Sdn Bhd. So his company, which we can define as a startup, is focusing on manufacturing, trading, and distribution of medical devices, such as spinal epidural anesthesia needles and such. And that focus is primarily on technology transfer from South Korea for manufacturing in Malaysia. Right? So next, we've got Ms. Priya Darshini. Ms. Priya Darshini is the General Manager for Business Development for Duopharma Biotech Bhd. And she herself has extensive experience in innovative new product development, covering areas such as biosimilars, oncology, vaccines, stem cells, and functional foods. And she also oversees the Duopharma Biotech strategic investments and efforts to commercialize new products for Duopharma Group. Next, we have Dr. Tham, who is the CEO and founder of Alps Global Holdings Sdn Bhd, our first biotech unicorn. Yes? And Alps Global Holding Bhd is a fully integrated biotechnology research, medical, and wellness company dedicated to developing personalized medicine using cutting-edge technologies such as genomics, DNA, mRNA, and cellular therapy. Next, we have Encik Amirul Farez, who is the co-founder and CEO of Xeraya Capital Sdn Bhd, which is a venture capital and private equity company which provides the financial backing to enable the development of breakthrough solutions to address unmet needs in healthcare and sustainability. Last but not least, obviously, is Dr. Khay Yong, which is the founder and consultant orthopedic surgeon at KL Sports Medicine Center, which is a center which is at the forefront of regenerative medicine. So Dr. Saw and his team focus very much on the application of stem cells for the repair and regeneration of cartilage, damaged cartilage, and now is currently in the final stages, yes, Doctor, of US FDA clinical trials for your therapy. Right, so we do have a very interesting panel right here, and the way this panel is positioned today is we wanted to give everyone a selection of the different stages of the healthcare company, so we'll give you a good perspective of the different challenges there are throughout the phases. So before we started, we would greet the panelists here. We'd like to see a show of hands from the audience, just to get a feel of who you are in the audience. So can I just see a show of hands? How many of you are researchers from universities or research institutes? Great, so we've got a few researchers. How many of you are from the industry, biotech, healthcare companies? Okay, great. All right. Anybody from policymakers, the government, those kind? Oh, quite a few. All right. Got policymakers as well. I see somebody putting up hands multiple times, so wearing multiple hats. I am. All right. Last, who's just here to wait for lunch? No? Okay, I'm sure you're still waiting for lunch anyway. So we won't keep you too far away from your lunch, but bear with us because I think this is going to be a very interesting panel. Right, so on to our speakers, without any further delay. I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to introduce their organization and what their view is in terms of innovation and how do they do that balance between innovation and maintaining the business sustainability. So let's start with Farahi on the left, on the end. Yes.
Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'm honored, extremely honored to have the opportunity be on the same stage with much senior personnel in the industry compared to me, just startup. I'm Farahi. Skyler Biotech technically is a medical device manufacturing company. We have been established on November 2021, and then 22, 23, we spend our time to have the complete production line with all the certificates. And this year we start supplying. We have good supply. So for the first 2 years, by profession I'm a pharmacist. Before starting a manufacturing company, pharmacy is quite straightforward business and easy. We start a pharmacy, and then after a few months we cover all the OPEX. After a few years we cover the CAPEX. But manufacturing, different ballgame. It takes years, then you can cover the OPEX. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think thank you for inviting us and inviting me to this panel discussion. I think a bit on Duopharma. For those who don't know, Duopharma Biotech Berhad is a generic pharmaceutical manufacturer. We are a Malaysian company headquartered here, even though we are present overseas as well. Currently, core business has always been generic manufacturing. Our strength has always been generic manufacturing, but in the last 10 years, we embarked on the journey of innovation and said, okay, let's just do something a bit more different, but in a step-by-step approach. We then looked at the market and we decided that we'd look into oncology and biosimilars. And we have 2 success stories and many failures behind it, right? So I think the whole journey has been tough, but I think worthwhile. And I hope that I can share a bit with everybody today and you could take something back. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Tham here, and I'm from Alps Global Holdings. We are integrate biotechnology company. When I talk about biotechnology company, so many people should think about it. It's mostly more doing the research, something is studying, but we're using the integrate because we have the whole supply chain. That's why we have medical center, a medical center. We have a molecular lab. We construct vaccine. We do a DNA research. We have mRNA research. We have so many collaborations in between the academics and company, especially from the USM. So, professor from the USM also interested there. So, from the beginnings, we set up as a biotechnology company because we intend into the molecular, look into the decisions and preventive medicines for the future preparing. So the company have a mission when we do something for the society. But because the biotech company, especially we're talking in this region, so not only in Malaysia, in this region, it's quite difficult to survive. That's why my company, we have a very unique strategy, how we're going to survive before we're talking about success. That's why the whole journey from the company is quite tough, because you need the money to pay the salary. And then at the other hands, we still need a fund for the research. So a lot of money need to, invest into the study. So this is not an easy way for a company from Malaysia, especially from this region. Normally biotech company, if talking about investment, I think maybe Xeraya can talk about the investment policy and then how to do that. It's quite difficult. That's why the whole journey, we got a lot of the friends and surroundings, specialists, professionals, help us to reach the targets what we plan. Because normally in the beginning, it's lose money. Until now, our company still I mean, you know from the research, it's still wasting the money. You won't get any return because burning is burning. Burning until the clinical stage, got to have the money to pay for the research. Still ongoing, our company is still ongoing. So this is the background about the labs. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Farez Zahir, CEO of Xeraya Capital. First, maybe a bit about me. I'm an actuary and a financial analyst by training. By trade, more of an investor. I've been in the line of investments for about, more than 30 years. I was with Schroders, a fund manager, there for a bit, half a decade maybe. And then with UBS, this is like public equities, sell-side analyst for about a bit longer than that. Joined Khazanah. There I headed the 2 units over there. One is the life sciences unit and the other is research. And then from there I became CEO of Xeraya Capital. So a bit about Xeraya Capital. We invest in the life sciences area. We're venture investors, very early stage investing. We've got 3 funds. 2 of the funds invest about the B round and later. One is A and even earlier, so there's a case of actually starting in a company within that track itself. So when you talk about innovation itself, I think venture investors as a whole, we take on risk because we invest in risk capital. We do have situations of successes. I think we invested in 30 over companies, of which, if I'm not mistaken, 3 companies have reached your status, the unicorn status. Congratulations to Alps. I think 6 of them touch unicorn. That's something to worry about. They touch unicorn, but then after listing, it's dropped a bit. But essentially from 30 companies, I think it's not too bad. Having said that, we also have failures. So I'll do my best in terms of maybe sharing some of our experience that we have at this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again for the invitation. My name is Dr. So. I'm a practicing orthopedic surgeon. And with a group of us orthopedic surgeons, many years ago, we started a small hospital called KL Sports Medicine Center. And basically, we're a small but niche hospital, and we all practice very specialized work. So as a practicing orthopedic surgeon, my specialization is mainly looking at young individuals with sporting injuries, especially in the knee joint. And over the years, I realized that a lot of them has got cartilage issues, and we do not have good solutions for them. So let me explain what the cartilage is. The cartilage is what covers the ends of the bone in your knee joint. So it provides a smooth gliding surface. But when that layer starts to break down, patient will start to have pain. But if you're dealing with an old patient, 60, 70-year-old, a lot of them will have a kneecap surgery where they have a total knee replacement, and that works extremely well for the elderly patient. But for young patients, they have an isolated injury or they have bone-and-bone problems, there's no solution for this group of patients. And current technology do not repair the cartilage very well. So back in 2005, I conceived an idea that perhaps is better than the current technology. So we funded basic science research, animal study with UPM, and found out that the concept that we conceptualized works extremely well. So in 2007, we embarked on a human study, and from there we moved forward. In 2013, we published a trial together, which is partially funded by MOSTI, and that showed very good results using stem cells. And moving forward from there, in 2020, we finished a US FDA phase 2B trial. And that trial addresses massive cartilage lesions. So it's not just small lesions, massive cartilage lesions, which is currently really unmet medical needs. So that is where we are at the moment. And we're having a dialogue with FDA at the moment. We're hoping that the next 6 months or so, we'll fine-tune our phase 3 protocol. Then if we're able to fine-tune all that, then we'll start raising funds for the phase 3 FDA trial. But up to now, we've funded a lot of it through our private medicine practice. And it's not easy because funding a FDA trial is not easy at all. Very expensive.
Yes, Thank you very much, so and to all the other panelists as well. So I'm sure everyone will agree with me that we've got a wide range of expertise and backgrounds on our panel, definitely there's a lot to be shared here. Just to pick up on what you mentioned just now, Dr. Song. So you've been talking about your clinical trials, right? And even Dr. Tham was saying how challenging it is in terms of financing clinical trials and things like that. Could you share a little bit of your strategy? How did you ensure that you were able to push through those clinical trials, as well as ensure that your business was continuing to be sustainable at the same time?
Yeah, I think in a prior practice, you have to balance out what you can afford to fund the clinical trial, you know. I mean, some of our technology patients come from abroad to come and see us. So, I mean, that gives us some revenue, but it's never enough to fund your research, not at a US FDA level, okay? But so a lot of it's funded through our prior practice, okay? And that's not easy at all because it's very expensive. I mean, over the years, we have some investment by some individuals. I think agency, University of Malaysia, a few years ago invested some money. But again, the sum is little compared to what we eventually require. And definitely for phase 3 FDA trial, we realized that unless we go out to the markets and raise those funds, it will not be enough for us, and we can't fund it through our practice, you know. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you need something that works, all right? FDA is interested in safety and efficacy. It must work, it must be safe for the individual. So the stem cells we're using are from patients' own blood stem cells, and we've published extensively on the science behind that and how it works. But for FDA, they still need other things like potency assays, they need mechanism of action. So, you know, even though we are able to regenerate very good cartilage now, we're now working back on the science of how we can move forward. So we're a bit different than a lot of basic scientists who says, okay, we can grow cartilage in a petri dish, and then we provide that to the orthopedic surgeons to do the surgery. But then sometimes it doesn't gel in between the clinical practice and the lab. But we are different because we are a group of orthopedic surgeons who conceived an idea and just went ahead to do that, and now we're working back on the science. So, I mean, the end product is fine. It's not a problem. It's now working through the regulatory issues and what they need, mechanism of actions and all these things. It's challenging.
Yes, I can see that. Yes, then in that case, I'm just going to head over to Ms. Priya right now, right? Because Dr. Saul was mentioning regulatory issues and all the challenges. So I'm sure you know very much the issues related to regulatory issues. So especially in the pharmaceutical industry, right? Heavily regulated. So perhaps you can share.
Yeah, okay, so maybe I'll just pick up from where Dr. Saul left off. Okay, so when we talk about phase 3, it's extremely expensive, and even though we are listed, at times we look at the numbers and it just won't make sense. For the size of our market, you are 32 million population, and then you've got Singapore and Brunei, and you know, ASEAN, it's a long way before you see anything. So one way we tackled when we did our phase 3 was we looked at co-development. So you get in more partners to come in, to co-invest with you to develop the product, and then you then focus on, so you've solved that money problem, right? You've got, but of course what you're saying is, I'm going to share my pie at the end of the day as well. But that's fine, because you just need to get to the end point. And this also allows us to do more projects than to do one. So what we do is we find strategic partners. And in some cases, we invest in them. In some cases, we work long-term collaborations. So it comes with a lot of pain as well, because you're sort of married to this person, to your co-development partners for the next 5 to 7 years. And you're going to manage that relationship. But we have seen good results with it, and you know, we sort of have the experience. So now even when we go on to develop new molecules, especially whether it's small molecules or even biosimilars, especially biosimilars, because when you go into biologics, it gets really expensive. We are also looking at a stem cell project where we are co-developing. There is absolutely no way I'm going to put in all our investment into one, and that's risk. So we share risk. So that's one way of doing that, managing the issues. The other thing is doing your regulatory strategy way earlier than before you actually go to the concept. So I think what we tend to always think country of origin, or we're going to think EU, we're going to think US FDA. So both comes with its pros and cons. So if you look at US FDA, your cost is going to go up. In the end, where's your market? Your market is ASEAN. Your product is going to become unaffordable. It cannot be it won't be affordable, right? So you're going to have that issue. So you have to continuously do, this is my country of origin, first tier countries, second tier countries, invest in it. I'm not saying invest in your regulatory strategy, engage regulators early on, and that sort of helps because regulators actually want to help you. You know, it's just that if you engage them in a later stage, they won't be able to support. So let's start early. So I think that proved to be helpful. Partnerships, having people who can withstand the long gestation period also helps.
Thank you very much, Ms. Priya, for that. I will go now on to Dr. Tham. So perhaps you can share a little bit, building on from what Dr. Soy and Ms. Priya were saying in terms of regulatory issues and the other requirements.
I think all the panels here, I think they already face not just face. We thought it's the same problems into the clinical study. The first thing I think is lacking some experience, I think, because when you conduct a clinical study, we need the whole team to support the CRO, the team with the university or with the hospitals. Because we so-called clinical study, without the whole team, it's very difficult. And then come up the other issue is authority. I'm not saying that they don't know or no, it's not that. Because normally you need to tell them what you want to do. So from the beginnings into the projects, we need to be very clear on that. But for myself, I think into the clinician sides, like Dr. So, it might be need somebody like CRO together go through the journey, so it can be more easier. But at the same time, you need to high pay. So this is a problem. So nobody knows everything, especially when talking about we're so far away from FDA. So I also not there to go on that. So Dr. So is our, which is so-called from Malaysia, can be the first and conduct FDA compliant. This is not the easy job. From the Malaysians, this is not the easy job. Not only the easy job, and then including the funding. So for me, I also can see how tough, from the Dr. So's the whole journey. But at the same time, when you can create, the so-called the picture in front of you, this is already done. For the value for the company is different already. I can foresee from Dr. So, when he can overcome all the status, this one status of clinical study into the phase by phase, the valuations for the company is huge because you already target into the global markets already. At the same time, from the Malaysian authority, if let's say you already done, I think they will probably more easier to comply because US, everybody know about the FDA. I think for their standards and everything, it might be more straightforward. I don't know because I never been to FDA before, so I have no complaints on that because now currency already going on that. I think overall for our company actually are totally different really, and it is my fault.
Right, so just from the first three speakers, we've already heard basically there's two common themes I can see that has evolved. One is regulatory issues, and the next one is funding, right? So money is very important here. So let's now hear from the man with the money, Arif. Maybe you can share some perspectives to the audience on the funding.
So, yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. And firstly, on the funding itself, I think it's important to understand that each organization has its funds mandate. So I shared a bit about on our side, on Xeraya, where we invest a bit early stage. But if you were to speak to other groups that may have funds to invest, they may be investing later stage and so forth. So if you think about innovation and think about growth as being the theme, and then how do we look at things, the simple thing is that I think they say if you're a venture investor, you're investing in innovation, And then they call private equity side, actually they're all private equity side, but private equity, they invest in growth, they invest in buyouts, that kind of thing. That's kind of a simplistic way of looking at things. And the rationale also is that when we're investing, venture investors tend to invest very early stage, and it's risk capital, right? It's one where you make investments and potentially it will fail. So therefore, when you're looking at it from that perspective, you're thinking about how can you at least have a return profile that fits that risk. So you need something that is very innovative, is very it's something that is different to what you see out there, and it's one where it results in unicorns and so forth. So that's kind of how we would look at things per se. But having said that, I just want to add, it's not as simple as that. I think we throw around the word innovation throughout this panel and even the one before. But when we look at investments, it's not innovation for the sake of innovation, because we're ultimately investors. I'll give an example. I hope I don't offend anybody, but I'm sure no one's doing this. Let's say you're thinking of some genetic modification where you can change the color of the durian and maybe even make it talk. That's really innovative. A fruit that talks to you. But to what extent that fulfills unmet need or unmet demand is how we're looking at it, and we'll be thinking, well, is the market really looking at that? So that's one big thing that we would assess, because if it's innovation for the sake of innovation, it's not quite our thing, and I think most groups like us will be saying the same thing. The next is value capture, because you say, okay, we're thinking about something quite big, but how do you protect that value? So in the case of tech companies, I think they call it moats and all that. But in our field, there's a bit of patents. So who owns the patents? If not, then do you have the freedom to operate? So that's quite key, because a big value today could be worth zero tomorrow if you don't think about value capture. So those are, some of the key things that we look at. Actually, there's quite a number of other things, but I'll probably just stop there because on this theme.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so definitely, I think also it was Dr. Saw who identified unmet needs is very important when you're bringing a product to the market. Something that needs to be considered as well, not just innovation for the sake of innovation, right? So let's go on to Farahi. Let's talk about the perspective of your company. So you're a startup. How do you view innovation, and how do you also balance that with, obviously, as a startup, you've got needs in terms of fundraising and other issues related to that?
Okay. When we talk about innovation, our perspective in Alaris Biotech, we practice incremental innovation. We always focus on low-hanging fruit, because business is business. So, like Dr. Tham said, every month we have the expenses. So we need to find money to cover the operational expenditure as soon as possible. Incremental startup, incremental innovation. So in SB, our short form is SB. We are medical device manufacturer, which manufacture medical disposable with no other local manufacturing in Malaysia. We do the transfer of technology, not limited to Korea. We have Mr. Kim, my partner, is there. Thank you for being here, Mr. Kim. Yeah. Not limited to Korea, also other advanced country. And then once we start commercialize the product, we do the incremental innovation step by step, increase the value. Okay, the challenge as a startup, as a manufacturer, the challenge, there are two. The first one is time. As the founder or managing director of the company, when we do the proposal, we need to be very detailed. How much fund really you need? How much fund really you need until you can survive on your own? I believe even though you have, for example, you want to start a company, you have fund from your family. Still, you need to protect your charisma and your face. You cannot, okay, I need 1 million, and then after a few years, I need more and more. never ending. No. For example, you need 2 million. Okay, this is 2 million. Instead there, you need, okay, this portion for capital, this for renovation, for equipment, production line, this section for working capital. And you need to try your best until the working capital finish, your profit could cover your cost. Time. That's very important to. Okay, and then how I control this challenge. Alhamdulillah, I would say after 2 years, 2022, 2023, it's hard years. But we are expecting that venturing to manufacturing company for 2 years, hard time. But this year, better. We get all this PO. Time. Need proper financial management. And the second one is technical skill. Because even though you are good at managing finance, but because we are a startup, so we are new to almost everything that we want to do. So some silly mistake that you make, it will cost you, if not millions, it's gonna cost you 100,000s. So can you bear this kind of cost? So we really need to be particular who are our partners, who are our team players. Because usually for a startup, we cannot bear the cost to hire highly paid employees. So we need team players who want to build the company together with you, together with us. Okay, that's two things. Time and the skill and knowledge.
Thank you very much. Moving forward, I'd just like to pick up on another thing that most of the panelists were mentioning just now is that failures occur, right? So that's something that if you're talking about innovation, it goes hand in hand. Right? You cannot have 100% success rate. So, Ms. Priya, could I just ask you, in terms of Duopharma, what is your approach to failure and how do you manage that kind of risk?
Okay, so I think in pharma, we've been around for 45 years. So we've always worked on small molecules, and we sort of know that, okay, if I target 10, X amount's not going to work out, or something's going to happen, or you're going to have competitors and your price sort of comes down. So we sort of prepared for that, but we've always been cautious when we were going to high investment type projects, when you're looking at biosimilars, where you're developing a generic, it's probably $1 million plus. Then suddenly you go to biosimilars and it's like 20 million, 48 million US, and it just keeps going up, and regulatory changes. So I think for us, maybe I'll just give you an example of something that we have experienced where IP becomes very important. Most of us think, because you come from a generic industry, you think everything's sort of expired, or you don't look at certain things. Then you notice that then there's a subdivisional pattern somewhere. So that becomes very important, especially if you're a startup. So if I'm looking, and then I'm also looking at strategic investments. So when I look at leads or companies, I tend the first thing I look at is the IP. So, have they done a thorough freedom to operate? What does their IP actually cover? And from there, what can I do more? How do we grow? So I think that, so some of our failures sort of came in the early days was that we looked at all the patents, but we didn't deep dive into it. So today we are looking at that, and also at that time, I think this is particularly in oncology, we noticed that there's a lot of evergreening that happens, especially in this region. So in 2016, we actually said, you know what, everyone's got to go and learn on this. Like everybody in BD just went and learned everything and trying to build that. But I think the ecosystem is also not there for us to learn. So sometimes we notice that we want to do a freedom to operate. Nobody in Malaysia, I can't find a firm that will do it for me. So even if you have money, sometimes you can't do it. You're going to be struggling. So, but again, I think what Encik Farahi said, his points were basically where the rubber hits the road, right? These are day-to-day issues that we have as well, but somehow we manage because we have an existing business to sort of support. But having said, when I work with startups, I know this is a struggle. So we come in to support where we can in terms of commercialization and also our knowledge. I think it's important to know that, we have failures, it's part of it. But once you sort of know, you just try not to repeat it and learn and develop and build internal expertise. So we do that. And I think the other thing is, when you go into new areas, just don't be shy. Put your hand up and say, I know nothing. Can I please learn? And just do that. So sometimes Asians are very shy to say, I don't know, right? So we just like, I hope to God this is right. And then you fall flat in your face. So I think that's important to even to say that I have 10 years experience, but I'll still say I don't know anything and just, go learn. I think.
Okay, maybe you can hear from Dr. Song if you have anything to add to what Ms. Priya was saying.
Yeah, I mean, patents are important because it tells people that's what we do. But then patents got expiry date. So if you have a patent and you run an FDA trial, if that takes more than 10, 15, 20 years, your patent runs out. So you need to then look at biologics license or whatever that FDA grants you when you finish your trial. So it's the same for us. So for example, if I finish a phase 3 FDA trial and FDA grants me a biologics license, that means that in the US, at least you're protected in the technology. And you have that license for maybe 10, 12, 15 years. And that means that nobody else can do the same thing. And that's where you need to ramp up your businesses and everything. But yeah, those things are important. And without the patent, I couldn't set up my US company to start the FDA trial. So again, these are all the things that are important. And then without that, you don't get funding, you get all these things. So, all these things are all connected. But the most important thing is that when you finish everything, you have to be able to apply the technology and patients will be able to benefit from your technology. I think that's the most important thing. So for us, it's not too bad because it's currently the massive cartilage lesions that we're dealing with. It's actually unmet medical needs. So everywhere from the US, from Europe, from everywhere, patients have got issues like this that do not have good solution. But that patent and all that is so important. Sure.
Dr. Tham, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, this is a very good, the sites, for the IP. So when you're going to, register your IP, so you got to, think about the, so-called the time frame, the time period for you to conduct the whole clinical study. So for me, very simple. Some of the, the IP, we just hold it, and then for the clinical trials, is when you're going to register. Yeah, this timing is very important. So means when we come up with some idea, so is that this is going to be, the markets and then soon, or how going to be, for the whole journey, and when going to, for the whole register can be commercialized. So timings got to be very strategic, and then the location, the strategics, when, where, why. So this is sometimes when we come up with some idea, we need to discuss about your teams, and then when we can do that, and then when we can finish with that. And then on time, if not, you just waste it. Because when you already class you fully commercialize, especially your IP is 2 years or 1 year, not the point that, because you already spent a lot of money on that. Because for a clinical study, as I know, like the vaccine, it's going to cost you, if let's say you're going to comply into the FDA, it might be 20,000 patients to 40,000. This is costly, into the patient is 5K to 10K USD. You need to pay, for the whole entire study. So if let's say you already registered in the early stage, and then into the commercialize, you only have 5 years. So this is a very crucial things. To the company, you could be prepared well for the timing control.
Right. So yes, IP is obviously very important. Another thing that was very common among what the speakers were highlighting is the issue of risk management. There's so many pitfalls associated with bringing innovations to the market. So risk management is definitely something that is crucial, right, to bringing innovation to the market. Perhaps we could hear from Farez. Let's talk about how do you view risk management when you're looking at potential companies to invest in? How important is that risk management? What do you look at in terms of that?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the question. For us, it's extremely important because we're investing in risk capital. So if we can't manage that, then the percentage of failures become a lot higher. So there's how we manage it, but there's quite and it's changed also. It's changed because I guess the environment's changed a bit. maybe before answering that, maybe just a step back in terms of the talk about the risk appetite of the people in the industry. I would say that at least in Malaysia, the appetite to take on risk before was fairly high, and then it went to a period of almost 0 to 0. And then now it looks as if it's bottomed up and bottomed down, or what do you call it, and it looks like there's the positive trajectory. And data is more like maybe a host being an example. Bioeconomy or Biotech Corp at the time, the heyday, I mean, budgets were quite different before, if you recall, and then it was maybe even absent at one point. Now I know the voice is being heard. We're also seeing more funds now that we probably didn't see before, whether it is the Quaps, Dana Printis, Machu, I think Kazana has done an impact, and also so there's more impact-related funds that's coming. So that there is a pool of capital that supports a bit of risk there, and therefore why the landscape feels important, because in terms of how you do the risk management is then important how you do that. Because if you have a situation where everybody's very, very hunky-dory, like in the old days, we need to take risks, then it's much easier. There's not much magic. You just need to tell a good story. Everybody's excited about it, and then you'll find the capital there, and you manage the risk accordingly. But now there needs to be one of really understanding what's important to each of these funds, and trying to have relevance to what's important to it. For example, with all these impact funds, it's more if it's climate related, if it's dealing with silver economy, then what is a story that you can offer these funds? And that is important because from a risk management perspective, you need to, I think many of us have said that if the capital's not there, if it dries up, then the whole thing fails. So you need to have, and we know that there's not one single fund out there that's going to support you throughout. So you have to think about getting the partners in there together. The syndicate of things is very, very important in finding the strategic partners in there and ensuring that they are energized to see the story to the end. Because then if that's not there, then it's very tricky. And so you need a bit of understanding that. You need a bit of what some of the things they probably like to see would be you have the personnel that's gone through, that has the battle scars and so forth, then they appreciate, well, you must be managing this risk a bit better. Because if you have a story there but you don't have the people there, then they'll say, you know what, maybe not today, you won't put money, and then that creates a risk in itself. So it's a combination of all that. Can be structuring also. So for, in our case, maybe just to share, we're more into raising capital, but we found that there's a bit of polarization in terms of how asset allocators are looking at things. So and partly because of this risk aversion, so the so-called very, very established funds, I'm talking about, say, I was going to say BlackRock, but I think that's not just, somehow it's not good. But anyway, you see this established fund that, all these asset allocators are knocking on their door, please start another fund. And they say, no, please go wait, but that kind of thing. And then the emerging GPs, you kind of need to structure it such that there's something more specific. So if it's a deal-related things and you raise a fund around it, that's one way in which it helps manage that risk for asset allocators to be part of that story. So those are a few. There's probably a few other ways to do it. But,
Thank you very much, Farez, for that. Cik Farahi, maybe we can go back to you for a moment, and you can share a bit about what your strategies are in terms of how you attract perhaps potential investors or potential partners to work with you, considering that, as you said, you're a startup and you're very early in the business, and there's a lot of challenges for you in managing all these issues related to business sustainability. So what are your strategies in terms of convincing partners to work with you or investors to come and invest in your company?
Based on my experience, I got small investment to set up the manufacturing plant. Like Mr. Farez said, innovation is one thing, but I think the most important part for investors is the profit. So the most important part is the investor want to know how much you need, and then how much I will get back, when I will get back. When is very important factor. Now I learn. Now when is very important factor because most of investors also need to manage their cash flow. So there are investors, they need, after 6 months, we need to pay back slowly. And then some of them can wait 3 years, 5 years. So for me, we need to know, we need to identify whom are our potential investors and what kind of structure, what kind of investment they would like to make. From the startup side, we need to be detailed. What's our financial projection? How much profit they can make? Because I heard some pitching presentation, they say a lot of good idea of innovation, but no financial projection. I think investors not really interested in that. No. And then, okay, this is the financial projection, and how you want to achieve that. And worst come to worst, if problem happen, how you want to manage to get something to pay back to the investor. I believe like that. And yeah, and as a startup, among, I think a lot of entrepreneurs here, they think grants, investment, and even some of them think loan is like their money. So they get loan for business, they get investment, they get even grants from government, they enjoy the money. It shouldn't be like that. A grant for us to develop the business. As a businessman, we enjoy the money when the company making profit, making dividend, and then or you sell back the company and then you can enjoy the capital gain. That's it.
Okay, so one more point that I would like to touch on here is a lot of the panelists were also speaking about unmet needs, right? So you can have innovation and it can be the most cutting edge innovation, fantastic talking to rents, as we were saying just now. But if there is no market need for it, or there's no customer pain that it is answering, then that innovation will simply not take off. So I would really like to hear from Dr. Tham in terms of innovation and the Alps global perspective. How do you go about identifying that unmet need? And yeah, basically, how do you do that? Really?
Okay, I think everybody is from the startup, especially from the early stage startup, a new startup. If you don't have experience, sure, we learn the whole journey. So because we don't have the idea, it's just like actually the human, the so-called human problem, human error. So always we overestimate what we are doing and think, and then underestimate the people in front of you. So this is a human error we make. I think the problem is the people don't know what they don't know. So this is always human error. So I think if let's say into the new startup, I mean this is a personal advice. Looking somebody is already been through the whole journey, and then together with you. And then this success rate and the fail. For the future we can see, the whole journey, what it's going to be. Into the investment, I think it's not only saying that we have somebody, then we can, talk to the guides, so-called investors already. So normally you need to have very unique study the backgrounds for the investor. Yeah, from the early stage for the investment is friend, family, and food. Into the another layer, so into the so-called VC fund, this is totally change the so-called capital gains really. You have to be ready to become the capitalist, and then how do you talk to them? And then you got to learn, especially the scientists, mostly they don't know what is finance. This is, scientist problem or doctor's problem. You got to choose a very good partner into the finance control. Got to have a very good into the finance. This is from my experience. Because normally at the end, because this is always happened, I mean the whole journey. This is my experience. So looking a very good finance guy together with you. And then how we're going to structure all this, just now talking about the forecasts, everything, and the exit plan. We're talking about the exit plan. Normally, if you know how to take the money, you know how to spend the money. You can give me 10 million, tomorrow I can spend all. This is normal. So that's why we need to know how to put the control. You got to have a guide, beside you, to give you the advice for the finance control. And then at the same time, how to going to do the forecast, for the 3 years, 5 years past, 10 years, into the short term, mid term, the long term. How going to have a very proper planning for the whole journey. For sure, you can change, the journey, but you must be very clear on that the mission you want to do, what you want to do. And then the mission, you got to be very clear. If not clear, you personal, for yourself also not clear on that, how are you going to talk to the investor? That's why you want to convince the investor to put in down the money to you. It's not that easy. Not the money. Why I'm giving to you? This is a normal questions, So you've got to very clear on your missions and what you're going to do, and then what is your exit plan. So when you already been ready for this all kinds of passion, from the so-called VC venture capitalists, sure they were going to help you. Because venture capitalists, they can take the risk and they can go together with you. But the PE firm is totally changed already. So we don't talk about the angel funds because angel fund normally is coming from the surrounding friends. It's not because your business is how good you're doing business. It's because how I trust you. They can't see anything from you. You just talk money. It's only I trust or not trust. It's not because of the business. Because into the angel funds, normally they also don't know the business. How they know about your business? You just talk. High or low, they don't know. It's only a trust in between, so-called friend and family. But when you're already rich and ready to go for the venture capitalist, you got to be ready, prepare yourself, and everything. It's not only saying that I want to do this business. And then this business, how we're going to manage, just not talking about the management, risk management, then you need to know how we're going to plan for that. And then into the, this is totally another world really. So this is capital. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tham. Right, excellent insights, really. I'm sure all of you agree from the panelists that are with us today. Unfortunately, time is no longer on our side, so I'd like to wrap up today's session by just going to each of our panelists here today. Lady and gentlemen, can you please share with us and the audience today, if you just have very briefly, in maybe 1 or 2 minutes, what is your key take-home message from today's session? What is the burning thing that you would like everyone to go home with? Perhaps we can start with Farahi, and we'll go with the panel.
As a startup, we need to tahan. Tahan. I learned this word from one of co-founder of Farm Fresh. I met him a few days ago. And then if you tahan long enough, maybe you can be success. Hopefully. But, and this is data. And the second one, now today we have projection, business projection and financial projection, 5 years, 10 years. But the world is changing. So you need to adapt without whatever change. Maybe today you want to manufacture this item, but next month this is obsolete already. You need to change your plan. So if you are fixed, actually you are moving backward. Not you are fixed, moving backward. Because everybody else, moving forward. That's all.
Okay, so that was interesting. So I think in summary, we spoke a lot about risk. And not to discourage anyone, the journey is absolutely worth the pain. And I think I would say flow. just go with it and face each challenge with, face it, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're creating jobs, you're creating value, you're creating, you are localizing technology, you are touching lives. So as long as you stick to that, all the pain, will be worth it at the end of the day. So not to discourage anyone, keep going on your journey, yeah?
I think our share among here is never give up. When you face the problems, you already ready to take up the challenge. I mean, the whole challenge is in front of you already. You're ready to take up, and then when you're ready, never give up. Sure, you reach, the targets you want.
I guess for me, there's a lot has been said. Might just say it in a different way. No, but maybe the three things is, one is to don't be afraid to think big, because with that, it probably energizes more people. Yourself also is key, because if you're doing something that you think would be very, very important for humanity, for example, you sleep better, lots of sleep, and you energize all these other people and want to come in, and investors as well. So don't be afraid to think big. Secondly is a bit of tahan and don't give up. Be patient, because this is not something that works overnight. And maybe the third one is network or partner, because I think, as we all said, none of us know everything, and just keep networking. It's okay. And then one day you'll find that the opportunities actually comes from, it's innocuous. It's something. Wow, I spoke to this person over lunch. I didn't realize that it could be helpful or something, and that helps with the whole journey. So, continue to network and partner.
Yeah, clinical studies are very difficult to do, because at the end of the day, if you have an innovation, there's still a patient at the end of the day. So when you do a surgery, when you do an innovation, that's why FDA focus on safety and efficacy. It must be safe. It has to work. Okay, and if it doesn't work, if it's full of complications, then nobody wants to be at the tail end of the surgery. But ethical medicine is very important. So when we select patients that can do stem cell therapy, we're very careful in selecting the right patient. And even though we try to explain to a lot of them, if you do unmet medical needs where there's no solution, if you can achieve 80% success, that's very good, because these are the patients that 100% of them, they don't have any solutions for them. But sometimes I see a lot of patients coming to me and they've had stem cell injected from various sources, from cultured stem cells, from baby cord blood, from God knows where is it from. But I always tell them that please do your homework, and if a doctor tells you that this stem cell work, but look at the publication, don't just accept it. It has to be, if things work, it has to be published somewhere, peer-reviewed journal, look at the results, maybe speak to patients who had the surgery, then at least you can come to an opinion, is this something that I want to go down the road or not? So clinical medicine is tough, as I said, that itself is tough, funding is tough. It's not easy, but if you can help somebody eventually, and if you don't push the frontier of medicine,